Yeah, I think we're ready to
I'll
start.
set Doug.
Good afternoon. I think it's afternoon already. I'm Doug Gross, Chair of New York Creates. I'd like to welcome everybody to today's meeting. I'd also like to welcome Terry Daly as a new member of the board of New York Creates. Terry has an extensive background in semiconductors and microelectronics industries, as well as a financial background, and brings tremendous expertise to the board. We're really delighted to have him join us. I'll now do a roll call of the directors participating in today's meeting. Michael Abbott.
Present.
Terry Daly.
Present.
Heather Hage.
Present.
Dr. Mengling Shao.
Present.
Joan McDonald.
Present.
And Kristen Proud.
Present.
Thanks. I'd also like to recognize the advisory representatives designee. It's Ian Rosenblum, who is the designee of the Chancellor of the State University of New York. In addition, I'd also like to recognize the member representatives, Ryan Farrell, representing the Research Foundation of the State University of New York, and Dr. Andrew Russell, who is representing the SUNY Poly Foundation. I'd also like to recognize the officers participating in today's meeting. David Anderson, Paul Kelly, Rebecca Borden, Timothy Taylor, and Patricia Buckland. I'd like to ask everybody to mute their computers when they are not speaking to minimize background noise. And also, please identify yourself when speaking and making the motion. For voting, we'll call out each director's name for their vote so we can accurately record the votes. Now, I'll ask now if anybody has a conflict of interest with respect to items on today's agenda. If so, I'd ask you to please make an appropriate disclosure on the record now and recuse yourself from any discussion or vote with regard to this item.
Yeah, Doug, this is Terry. I will recuse myself for the vote on my participation in the Finance Committee.
Okay, also note that on the record. I'd like to have a motion now to approve the minutes of the New York Creates meeting of December 16th, 2024.
So moved. It's Kristen.
Thank you, Kristen. Is there a second?
This is Mike. I second it.
Thank you, Michael. Are there any corrections? If not, I'll ask each director for their vote. Michael Abbott.
Aye.
Heather Hage.
Aye.
Dr. Mengling Chow.
Aye.
Joan McDonald.
Aye.
Kristen Proud.
Aye.
And I would like to be noted in the affirmative as well. And Terry will not vote on this since he was not a member of the board at this date. So the ayes have it and the motion is adopted. I'd like to now introduce Michael Abbott, Chair of the Audit Committee, to present the Audit Committee report. Michael.
Thank you, Chair. You have before you information related to the tax filings for New York Creates, FRMC, and FSMC. I'd like to ask for a motion to consider and approve the tax filings.
So moved by Mengling Shao.
I'll second it. It's Kristen.
Great, thank you. By way of background, New York Creates, Fuller Road Management Corporation, and Fort Schuyler Management Corporation engaged KPMG to review the tax filings year ending on June 30th, 2024, pursuant to authorization by the board at its meeting on October 28th, 2024. KPMG has now completed its review of the corporation's tax filings, and draft tax filings were provided to the board in advance of the meeting. The Audit Committee approved resolutions for New York Creates, FRMC, and FSMC as described in the memorandum provided to the board, including recommending that the board approve said action. So the requested action today is to approve the resolutions for New York Creates, FRMC, and FSMC, approving the tax filing subject to and conditional upon completion of any remaining administrative items to the satisfaction of the chair of the audit committee. And 2, providing the general authorization to the officers as stated in the memorandum provided to the board. Is there any discussion of this matter? Okay, hearing none, I will ask each director for the vote on the motion. Terrence Daly?
Aye.
Thank you. Dr. Gross?
Aye.
Thank you. Heather?
Aye.
Dr. Mengling?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
And I also vote in the affirmative. The ayes have it and the motion is adopted. Thank you. I'll return it back to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for the report. I'd now like to introduce Kristen Proud, who's the chair of the Finance Committee, to present the Finance Committee report. Kristen?
Thank you. So the first item we have today from the Finance Committee, which met last week, is New York Creates Resolution number 44, FRMC Resolution number 205, and FSMC Resolution number 218. It relates to the delegation of authority related to New York Creates, FRMC, and FSMC. At this time, I would ask for a motion to consider and adopt New York Creates Resolution number 44, FRMC Resolution 205, and FSMC Resolution 218.
So moved, Heather.
And this is
Thanks,
Joan.
Heather.
Second.
Thank you, Joan. So for a little bit of background, this resolution will clarify the authority of the president as generally authorized by the board of directors for any action not otherwise addressed under the policies adopted by the board or specifically authorized by the board to enter into and execute in the name of and on behalf of the corporations any agreement, obligation, contract, document, or instrument that the president deems reasonable or necessary in carrying out the business and affairs of the corporation. If the document binds the corporation to an expenditure of more than $1 million within a 12-month period, then any such large commitment document shall be summarized in a quarterly report to the Finance Committee and to the board and be ratified by the Finance Committee. If the Finance Committee determines in its discretion that a subject large commitment document should be approved by the board, the subject document shall be approved by a majority vote of the board at a subsequent meeting of the board. In addition, the president would be authorized to delegate his or her authority to execute a document for which the president has been granted general or specific authority under the bylaws, under any policies adopted by the board, and or any resolution approved by the Finance Committee and or the board as applicable, or otherwise to any other key officer or key employee of the corporation in his or her discretion. The Finance Committee approved the resolutions described in the memorandum that was provided to you in advance of the meeting and included recommending that the board approve these same actions. So just to reiterate, the requested action today is approval of New York Creates Resolution number 44, FRMC Resolution number 205, and FSMC Resolution number 218. At this point, I'll stop and see if anyone has any questions or comments that they would like to make. Hearing none, then we'll move on to the vote. Michael Abbott,
Aye.
Terry Daly,
Aye.
Dr. Doug Gross,
Aye.
Heather Hage,
Aye.
Dr. Mengling Shao,
Aye.
Joan McDonald.
Aye.
I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative. So the ayes have it and the motion is adopted. The next item for your consideration from the Finance Committee is New York Creates Resolution number 45, FRMC Resolution number 206, and FSMC Resolution number 219. And this relates to an amendment of the Finance Committee Charter. Could I have a motion to consider and adopt these resolutions, please?
Motion, Doug.
Thank you, Doug. A second?
Second by Mei-Ling Shao.
Thank you. So on October 29th, 2024, New York Creates, FRMC, and FSMC amended the Finance Committee Charter to include the duties given to the Finance Committee under the new real property and procurement policies. It also authorized the Finance Committee to act through the unanimous written consent of all the members of the Finance Committee without a meeting or by a majority vote at a meeting of the Finance Committee. The corporations now seek to amend the charter to clarify more specifically the authority of the Finance Committee with respect to its other areas of responsibility. This includes the authority to review and approve any major proposed item, including without limitation, any action, transaction, program, initiative, or document that exceeds a certain dollar amount as established by resolution or policy of the board. The corporations further seek to amend the charter to clarify that whenever Finance Committee members have any power of approval, such action may be taken either by the unanimous written consent of all of the members of the Finance Committee without a meeting or by a majority vote at a meeting of the Finance Committee, and that any items to be approved by the Finance Committee may be done so individually or in bulk through one motion and one vote. The Finance Committee approved the resolutions described in the memorandum provided to you in advance of this meeting and recommend that the board approve the same actions today. So the requested actions are approval of New York Creates Resolution number 45, FRMC Resolution number 206, and FSMC Resolution number 219. Are there any questions or comments about these resolutions? Then we'll go to the vote. Michael Abbott,
Aye.
Terry Daly,
Aye.
Dr. Doug Gross,
Aye.
Heather Hage,
Aye.
Dr. Mengling Shao,
Aye.
Joan McDonald,
Aye.
and I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative. And the ayes have it, and this motion is adopted. The final item from the Finance Committee for today is New York Creates Resolution number 46, and this relates to appointment to the Finance Committee. So I would ask for a motion to consider and adopt New York Creates Resolution number 46.
This is Joan. So moved.
Thank you. A second.
This is Doug, a second.
Thank you. So pursuant to New York Creates Resolution number 1, dated December 18, 2019, New York Creates established a finance committee and appointed 5 directors to it. Under the bylaws of FRMC and FSMC, each director of New York Creates serving on a committee of New York Creates shall be deemed to have been appointed as a committee member of this corresponding committee of FRMC and FSMC. On March 13, 2025, the SUNY Polytechnic Institute Foundation, Inc. appointed Terrence Daly as a director of New York Creates. Mr. Daly brings tremendous expertise to this board, having served for decades in executive positions in the semiconductor and microelectronics industries. New York Creates now seeks to appoint Terrence Daly to the Finance Committee and reconstitute the committee with membership as follows: Kristen Proud, Committee Chair, Terrence Daly, Dr. Doug Gross, and Heather Hage as members. So today we're requesting your approval of New York Creates Resolution number 46 to appoint Terrence Daly to join the Finance Committee. Are there any comments or questions? All right.
Just that we'll
I would-
welcome Terry to the committee from my perspective. Thank you, Kristen.
Absolutely, Heather. I completely agree. And on behalf of the committee members, I'd like to welcome you, Terry, and thank you very much for agreeing to serve on the committee with us. So we'll go to the vote. Michael Abbott,
Aye.
Dr. Doug Gross,
Aye.
Heather Hage,
Aye.
Dr. Mengling Shao,
Aye.
Joan McDonald,
Aye.
and I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative. So the ayes have it. The motion is adopted, and we welcome you to the Finance Committee, Terry. At this point, I will turn it back to you, Dr. Gross.
Thank you, Kristen, for the report. We'll now ask for, is there any new business to be considered? And hearing none, I would like to note that for the record, the board received 2 reports from the Finance Committee regarding actions taken by the committee on December 18th, 2024 and April 15th, 2025, pursuant to the amended and restated acquisition disposition, and lease of real property policy and guidelines. These reports will be included in the board records. Now, I'd like to offer the opportunity for public comment. Please introduce yourself if you do have a comment, and keep your comments to 2 minutes or less. Hearing none. The date for the next meeting is to be determined, and once finalized, it will be posted on the website. Is there any further business for today? Since there is no further business, I would like to have a motion to adjourn.
So moved. It's Kristen.
Thank you, Kristen. Second?
Second, Terry. Terry,
Thank you.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. The meeting is adjourned. Welcome, Terry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome, Terry. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you. Take care.
Have a good day.
Take care.